I was going to say good morning, but it's actually good afternoon. It feels like morning. We finished just before 4 a.m. We got 3 major bills done yesterday. We've got another 2 budget bills on the floor today. We are starting to finish unfinished business, and that's exciting to see some of the work that's being done. The tax bill just came out of tax committee. A number of Democrats voted for that as well. You see the transportation bill moving forward, and so we're excited, and I'm still optimistic. With that, I want Senators Westrom and Weber to begin talking about the Ag bill coming forward. Senator Westrom.
Good afternoon. We've got the Agriculture, Rural Development, and Housing Finance bill up today. We have met a zero target in our bill with some highlights continuing to focus on rural Minnesota, agriculture, value-added opportunities to help bring more value and opportunity and processing to our state. Agriculture is nearly 25% of our state's economy, and it's very important that we continue to enhance marketing and value-added. We've got items, everything from some of the governor's push for new markets on industrial hemp, but we also are focusing on the tried and true aspects of livestock, which is a very basic but a tried and true way of adding value to our products raised right here in Minnesota. We've increased the livestock investment grant, which has helped numerous family farmers, starting farmers out in rural Minnesota, be able to expand their barns and their livestock, whether it's pigs, beef, or other types of livestock. You will see that type of a focus on value-added agriculture to help bring more economic opportunities to our state. We will also be looking at housing and making sure we continue to invest in workforce housing through the Challenge Grant program, through Minnesota Housing Finance. We've also tried some new innovative ways to help encourage a little more workforce housing in rural Minnesota, where there's a issue of gap financing and also scenarios where people, even teachers, might not qualify but really need some housing opportunities. So we're trying to stimulate some new ideas as well as preserve some of the basic affordable housing options in our state. One new program we're going to test to try to see if we can help with infrastructure on some manufactured home parks to help prevent them from closing and keeping those home ownership options on the table and to help those parks stay a very good and affordable housing option across our state's communities. So with that, those are some key focuses that we are looking at. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Senator Westrom. And yes, and eventually we get to the policy bill. We have a number of issues, some of which we're still working out with the Department of Agriculture, but a rewrite of the dairy legislation, the dairy bill, which has been done in conjunction with Minnesota Milk, our producers across the state of Minnesota. I think one of the issues that probably people have been asking me about since I have carried the bill is regarding the shrimp program that's included in the Ag Finance bill. Senator Westrom has used the agri-funds to finance, not for this biennium, but put it in the tails for the next biennium, some money that would be a production incentive. Actually, the program is modeled after the ethanol production incentive that happened a number of years ago, and the agri-funds were actually created by leftover ethanol money that keeps coming into the account and creating these agri-funds, and they were dedicated to the purpose of rural development, coming up with value-added projects, and we have an opportunity, I think, to jumpstart a new industry in Minnesota. Actually, this industry, by the time you look at the harbor, you look at their hub activities, that is the processing plant, their research and development, their nursery. We're looking at probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 jobs that will be in place before the production incentive actually kicks in. Because unlike a lot of programs, they actually have to be producing before they would collect $1 of these agri-funds. And it's important to remember that these agri-funds, that's what they are available for. They're not available for a lot of the other general fund expenses that we incur and that we have in front of us. And so we're looking forward to being able to do that. And while the company that is the parent company of True Shrimp is a Minnesota company, they have a long history in the animal nutrition business, and we think we just have a tremendous opportunity for economic development in rural Minnesota.
Any questions for Ag, and then we'll have a couple of the senators brief you on other issues.
Have you gotten bipartisan support for this bill as it's moved through its paces in recent days? And do you expect bipartisan support on the floor?
We have gotten bipartisan support. It actually passed unanimously out of the Ag Committee. Not fully unanimous in Finance Committee, but it's been well received. The shrimp innovative opportunity that Senator Weber talked about seems to be very well received by both Democrats and Republicans, especially rural members that see the value in the jobs that can be created and the value added that can come out of this. Converting Minnesota soybeans, whether you convert it into cattle, pigs, or now shrimp, would just be a lot of bushels that we can convert right into that value added opportunity. So we've seen great bipartisan support.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Senator Newman, two transportation bills to give you an update on.
Well, thank you, everyone. This is a day, frankly, I've been looking forward to for quite some time. We're going to go on the Senate floor this afternoon. I've got two bills up. The first is the Transportation Omnibus Bill. And the thing I would ask that you keep in mind is the amount of money that we are putting into roads and bridges in this upcoming biennium. If you take into consideration the $400 million in the targets, the increase in the trunk highway bonding, the federal money that is coming in, we are going to increase in the next biennium, for instance, in 2018, an increase in transportation spending of like 236%. In 2019, it will be something in excess of 236% increase. It's like 240 or 250. So we are dumping lots and lots of money into roads and bridges, and I am really looking forward to presenting that bill on the Senate floor this afternoon. Then the second bill that's up this afternoon is the bill on what's called the FAST Act. Now, the FAST Act is in the Transportation Omnibus Bill. That is $105 million that's coming from the federal government that goes straight into the Trunk Highway Fund for use on our roads and bridges. Governor Dayton has requested that we put the FAST Act bill on a fast track. I don't know if that's a pun or not, but he has requested that we move that along separately from the Transportation Omnibus Bill, because there is some concern that if we have not had the money appropriated and has his signature on the bill within a certain deadline, that he is concerned that the money would not be received, that it would be pulled back. There are deadlines on it. I think the deadline is in September, but I do want to work with the governor. I want his assistance on this, and so in accordance with his request, we are moving that bill forward today, and I have every expectation that that bill will be on the governor's desk probably by next week, so that riddle will be solved. Thank you.
And the Real ID.
Well, as you probably heard, we're bringing back Real ID off the table, and we'll be voting on it. I've been working with our counterparts across the aisle, and I think we have an agreement to get some bipartisan support, get it off the floor. And I'm happy to take any questions.
How did you solve that dilemma on Real ID? Is there a change in the language from the bill we saw earlier?
So the change is going to be that we're going to take out the rulemaking section that Senator Dibble tried to amend. We've always stated that we want the issue to be separate from immigrant driver's licenses. And so by striking the rulemaking, it doesn't change that. It keeps it as a separate issue. What it does do is it makes it harder for the department to implement the Real ID. They're going to have to come back to the legislature next year and ask us for specific rulemaking authority then.
But we expect to pass it.
Could somebody talk about the order of all this so we can plan our days and nights?
I don't know if I have the order. It's up on my desk.
Agriculture
As
is
we
your
just
first.
went.
Just the way we presented it. And then reinsurance.
Ag, Transpo, Real ID, reinsurance, and 3 o'clock in the morning again?
I saw your tweets at 3 o'clock. I was very impressed that you were buying shoes at 3 a.m. I saw your tweets, but we're going to do our best to not have too many of those nights. A lot of people wanted to talk about a lot of issues on both sides of the aisle, so I expect to be done mid-evening.
We're starting in 5 minutes instead of 7, so.
So stay tuned, I'll watch for your tweets.
Do you have the votes for Real ID?
I believe we do. Senator Bach and I have been talking. We tried to reach an accord ahead of time. We haven't asked for votes from them, but it's our understanding that we have the votes, so yes.
What kind of challenge does this change present with conference negotiations with the House?
Well, in conference committee, it's still a challenge, but we have to get to that step before we can take the final step to get it back to the floor, or second final, and then get it to the governor. And so we decided we'd rather begin that process now. The House is a little firmer on some of the issues that we tried to keep clean. We'll see how that negotiation goes, but we want to keep moving it forward. All right, we got to get back up to session. Stay tuned.